said earlier, it seems lots of people are having some network issues today. So anybody that is unable to or that has been unable to join, they can always watch the recording. So um yes. So today, the agenda for today, first of all, can I quickly ask, have we been able to set up our demo tenants? Have you been able to set up your demo tenants? And have you been able to, play around with it? Anybody at all currently present?
Yeah, yeah. But first, I had it before, so I had
Okay.
it in the last class.
Oh, beautiful.
So uh, I'm trying to do one or two things.
Okay, you're trying to do
So
one or two things with it.
like
How has it
my
been
laptop,
so far?
so it's fine. It's fine so far. So my laptop
Okay.
is off now, so I'm using phone. I'm using my phone
Okay.
for connecting.
Okay. All right, no problem. So yes, I will advise that. And then I always, for each of the classes, the links to go and study further is always available. So I don't know if you've been able to have time, or if anyone has been able to have time to actually go through those links too and maybe practice in your demo tenant. I will strongly advise that you do so. Um then I'll be dropping. Yes, at the end of this class, I would drop a link where if you're trying to study for the exam, right? After you've gone through the learn process, then you can practice like with some should I say tests, like some past questions. Should I say past questions? Yes, that
Okay,
will help you towards
okay,
preparing for
better,
the exam. Yes. So that
better,
way you
better.
are learning, you're practicing, and then if you want to take the exam, it's a lot easier.
Better. Thank you.
All right. All right then. So today we'll continue from where we stopped. Last week we spoke about configuring your Microsoft 365 tenants, where we looked at, where you can configure your domain name, where you can set up licenses, how you can create users, how you can manage users,
Yeah, yeah.
manage groups. So this week we are looking where it's basically a continuation of where we stopped actually. So, sorry, can you mute your mic? I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Sorry, you have not put any presentation, Adi.
Oh, really? Uh,
I've not seen anything. That's what I'm asking.
oh, sorry, hold on. Okay, hold on. Can you see my screen now? I'm currently sharing my entire screen. You should be able to see my screen now.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay.
I may have not. Uh, may have not been able to see it. Maybe it's from my end. Maybe because I'm using phone.
No, you should be able to see actually.
Okay. Sorry, I can see it now. I can see it now.
Okay,
I can see
okay,
it now. My camera was off. Yeah.
okay. All right then. The previous way I was sharing would have been better, but this is okay. Because I just want to quickly go through the agenda and then we'll go straight into the actual demo sessions. So we're looking more on how you can configure administrative roles in Microsoft 365, how you can manage your tenant health, if there's any issues, where do you go to and stuff like that. um Last week we didn't really get to touch so much on group management and all of that, so we'll still look at that also today. How you can manage secure user access in Microsoft 365. So you can set up stuff like conditional access policies, some Azure AD configurations and what have you. And then where to go to to configure, sorry, to analyze your Microsoft 365 workplace data using Microsoft Viva Insights. So it's really just, touching around most of the admin functionalities that you can, should I say, take advantage of in the Microsoft 365 environment. Right. So let's just get into it. Sorry. Okay. I'm sharing my entire screen, so I'll just switch my tabs. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'm in my, let me come back to, I already had the admin center open up here. So yet again, this is our administrative center, right? Last week, like I said, we looked at how you can, manage your users, create groups. This is the area you get your like you get to create your users, you get to, edit user settings, delete users, and so on and so forth. Um, if you have groups or if you want to create groups, this is where you get to manage and create your groups, right? You can create shared mailboxes. So shared mailboxes are like, it's possible, okay, sometimes the question can come up like, okay, you have, in fact, even in a real life scenario, right, you have a user account, and then a user is leaving your organization, but then you don't want to lose the data associated with that user's account, and then you also don't want to you don't want to lose the data associated, but you also need to use the license that is assigned to that user account. So how do you work around it? Like, what's the workaround? How do you manage to retain the user's data, but you get to use that license for another user? So in a case like that, you can convert the current user account to a shared mailbox. And what that means is that, when you convert the account to a shared mailbox, you're able to it releases the you are able to release the account of the license assigned to it, and with that license you can create a new user. Now that shared mailbox, it has a maximum capacity of 50 gig. So it's going to now have, it's going to appear like the user is still available, is still in the organization. External users can still send emails to that account. They won't even notice that it's no longer an actual user account in the environment, right? And then you can delegate access to that shared mailbox to, maybe, for example, now the person's team lead, right? The manager. So that manager can still always go into their account, can always um can send emails as the shared mailbox, can review emails sent to that shared mailbox, can review past emails and what have you, right? So to get that, the way to do that is from active users. So first of all, you need to identify, okay, what user you want to actually convert to a shared mailbox. Let's say Henrietta over here. Henrietta has left the organization. We need to convert her account to a shared mailbox. We don't want to delete the account. We don't want to lose access to the data stored in that user account, right? So you open up Henrietta's mailbox, sorry, her profile. It says the password for this account has expired. They can't sign in. Yeah, but that's not what we're concerned with right now. So this is Henrietta's profile, right? From here we can reset her password, we can block signing, we can delete the user, and so on and so forth. Where we are concerned with is the mail area. So over here you can configure stuff like mailbox permissions, set the email apps that are allowed for this user. You can decide if you want Henrietta to show in the global address list, if you want to set up email forwarding for her mailbox. Mind you, if you set up email forwarding for a user's mailbox, right? The user can actually see from their end that their emails are being forwarded. It's like it will just appear like in a small corner that your mails are being forwarded to so and so, right? And then you can set up automatic replies for this user, so that, okay, maybe the user has gone on vacation and they forgot to configure automatic replies, or the user has left the organization abruptly, and you still want to leave that account active, right, without having to sign in as the user. You can just set up automatic replies right from here. And then This is the area I was talking about where you can convert the account to a shared mailbox. So to convert to a shared mailbox, you click on this, and then it will give you, this message saying that, shared mailboxes let a group of people monitor and send mails from a common email. Just telling you the various things to expect when you convert to a shared mailbox. So once you're fine with that, you go ahead, sorry, to click on convert, and then you go ahead to click on convert, and it tells you that it is done. So it may take a few minutes before you can add members, so add people to be able to, you know to be able to send emails as yeah, to send mails as the shared mailbox, to add people that can, access the shared mailbox, and so on and so forth, right? So once you're done with this, you just click on done. Now, if you click on Henrietta's account again, right, it still shows like she's still an active user. You can still see that she has a license assigned and all of that. But then we are aware that we've converted this mailbox to a shared mailbox. So now you can go ahead to deselect this license that is assigned to the user, right? So that you can assign that license to someone else, and then you save changes. Then if we come over to by the left hand side, the settings by the left hand side, if you click on shared mailboxes, you will see Henrietta's account over here as a shared mailbox, right? So if you select the account, once you select the account, you can now configure. If you scroll down, you can configure things like read and manage permissions, send as permissions, send on behalf of permissions. So you can configure who can read and manage the emails within this account going forward, who can send emails as Henrietta's mailbox going forward, who can send on behalf of Henrietta's email going forward, right? You can configure all of that from here. So that's how shared mailboxes work, really. Then also looking at, okay, no, last week we looked at reports. So also looking at health, if for example any of your users have an issue where, not even any of your users, multiple users within your environment are reaching out, and then they are complaining that, oh, okay, maybe for example, we cannot access Outlook service. Outlook isn't loading properly, and this is not something that's just affecting one person, it's affecting multiple people. Or OneDrive for business is not opening up, and so on and so forth. Sorry, a moment please. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, yes. So as I was saying, you're having multiple complaints from users within your organization, and then you're trying to see what exactly is wrong. Is there a service health issue and all of that? So you can come over here to service health, and then you get to see if there is any issue with any of the Microsoft 365 services, and then you can now advise your users as required, right? You can also so if there is no service health issue that has been reported, meaning there is no global issue that has already been reported, and Microsoft is saying that, oh, okay, we are currently working on this and what have you. If that doesn't exist, you can go ahead to now troubleshoot further. Oh, okay, what could be wrong? Could it be the network? Could it be a network issue within our environment? Could it be that, maybe you need to now create a ticket with Microsoft support, right, for them to look into the problem and then help with a resolution. And then um for you to see, sorry please. Yeah. Okay. And then for you to see, maybe there are like new updates. You have a what's it called? There is a new update from Microsoft, Outlook has been updated, or a new service has been introduced, and what have you. Where do you go to? Right. For that, you go to Message Center, and then you get to see all the new updates, plan changes within the Microsoft 365 environment, and so on and so forth. You can see all of that from over here. So those are just minor stuff that you can easily run through, right? And then you can play around with in your demo tenant, right? I would advise that you do so that you get more familiar as you proceed. So let's go into the Azure Active Directory. Yeah, I want to use this. Let's go into the Azure Active Directory to see how we can set up, like you can set up conditional access policies. You can manage your users, manage your groups, even in a more defined format, right? So to get here, what I did, if you didn't notice, so from the main admin center, you just scroll down, and then you will see option to view other admin centers. So you get to click on Azure Active Directory. If you wanted to manage, maybe you want to view the admin center for like the security center, you can click on security. If you want to view the compliance center, you can click on compliance, endpoint manager, exchange admin center, SharePoint admin center, Teams admin center. You get to select from here. So I clicked on Azure Active Directory and it brought us here. Then click on this and it opens it up. So from here too, just like you can manage your users, right? Manage your users, manage your groups. You can do that from here, right? So if you click on users, you get to see yet again the list of users that you have. My colleague in the subsequent classes, it seems someone is trying to come in. Sorry, a moment, please. Okay. So in subsequent classes, you'll be looking at how, in the first class, we spoke about um, different ways of managing your users. So if you want to manage your users cloud only, or you want to manage users using like a hybrid setting. So you're able to manage them not just on Microsoft 365, but if you have like an on-premises server, you already have an existing Active Directory and you want to manage your users either on that directory or from Microsoft 365 to have like a like maybe pass-through authentication or password hash sync. You have different ways of setting up those authentication settings. So we spoke about Azure AD Connect, the Azure Active Directory Connect, that helps you to create that sync, that should I say relationship between your cloud environment and your on-premises environment, right? So my colleague in, I think, next week's class or next 2 weeks will be speaking about how you can configure that, how you can set up Azure AD Connect so that you don't just, so far we've been looking at, okay, managing users in the cloud, managing users from, the portal.office.com, portal.office.com, the admin center, right? But how can you go further and actually manage your users even from on premises, right? What's the experience? How is it different, right? So she will be touching more on that. And you will see that, okay, for now, right, we are just managing fully on the cloud. You can see our users, their display name, the email address, the user type. And then you see here, it says on premises sync. No, because right now I haven't set up Azure AD Connect. So I'm not syncing identity. I'm managing my identities fully in the cloud. So there's no on-premises synchronization, right? So, but in the, like I said, in subsequent class, you will see how you can configure that on-premises sync, and you will see that this the identities will no longer say no for on-premises sync, but it will now be yes, maybe for if you choose to sync only some users and so on and so forth. You get to see all of that from here. Then So from here too, you can create new users, you can download your users, you can carry out bulk operations, like you can bulk create users, bulk invite, bulk delete. This is like a simple way, and this all of this is on Azure. So this is actually like the Azure admin center, right? So you can see that it's introducing you to yet another, like it's introducing you to not just Microsoft 365 administration, but also Azure administration, because you are managing these users in Azure Active Directory, in Azure Active Directory, right? So you can view deleted users, password reset policies from here. You can set up your password reset policy here. So for example, if you want to here it says self-service password reset. So it's currently disabled, right? So because it's set to none. So self-service password reset is what allows your users to be able to reset their passwords by themselves. So right now, if this were like a live environment, if my users should forget their password and then, or they want to, we've set up password expiration policy. We did that last week. We've set up password expiration policy, and then users will get notified that, oh, your password will expire in the next 3 days, your password will expire in the next 1 week, that kind of stuff. If the user wants to reset the password by themselves ahead of that time, right, how do they do it? Right? Or maybe they've forgotten their password and they want to reset it themselves. They don't always need to reach out to admin. If you enable self-service password reset for them, or for your environment, or for a group of users, even if you don't want to enable for everybody, right, they would be able to reset their passwords themselves going forward. So to do that, you have to select one of these options. So let's say, for example, you set it on all. So if you say all, then it means that everybody in the environment is going to be able to reset their passwords. If you set it on selected, then this means that maybe I don't want everybody in the company to be able to reset passwords by themselves for security reasons, right? Our policy is that, oh, okay, only members of, let's say, members of the IT team, members of maybe the marketing team can reset their passwords by themselves, because they tend to maybe forget their passwords a lot, or they have the password reset policy we have configured for them is different and stuff like that. For one reason or the other, you just want to enable for a few group of users. So if that's the case, you pick selected, and then you can now pick a group that you want to apply this password reset policy to. So it will give you a list of groups in the organization. I think I created a test group that I could use for this whole sessions. So I can apply this self-service password reset policy, or SSPR, because it's quite long. So I can apply SSPR to this tech security group, right? Alone. You can apply it to multiple groups. So I think this is fine for me. And then I click on select. So once I save this, what that means is that going forward, the members of this tech security group, they will be able to reset their passwords by themselves. They don't have to reach out to admin every time they want to have their passwords reset. Right. And then you can look at authentication methods. What sort of authentication methods do you have enabled in your environment? You can look at you know, maybe customization and stuff like that. Do you want to, when your users are unable to access their Microsoft 365 account, do you want them to receive a link that says, oh, okay, maybe for those that, even assuming you had set up SSPR for the entire organization, you want to remind them how, or the requirements, you want to remind them the requirements for them to reset their password, right? So you can place a link. Okay, do you want to place an help desk email or a URL that they can always click on anytime they forget their passwords, that this thing should pop up, right? So you can customize that from here. You can view audit logs from here. Oh, sorry, let me set this back to no. So you can view audit logs from here. Maybe if there was any service issue, if there was any someone tried to reset their password but it didn't go through successfully, and so on and so forth. You can review that from here. So let me go back to users. Yeah. So even going back just a bit. Okay, so yes, that's how you can manage your users from the Azure Active Directory, right? You can also view your groups from here. I think last week we spoke about how so it's possible for you to, we looked at how you can assign licenses to users directly from maybe when you are creating the user afresh, or you can manage their licenses from the should I say user management dashboard, right? Just like how we looked at how you can manage Henrietta's account, how we switched Henrietta's account to a shared mailbox, right? So, and right from there, after switching our account to a shared mailbox, we now unassigned the license that was assigned to her, right? So we did that directly from her account. So it's also possible for you to assign licenses from a group level. So you can create a group, add users to that group, and then assign licenses to that group, so that going forward, if you even have new users added to the group, going forward, they will be able to use those licenses, right? So, and possible for you to do that for security groups. For example, I have this tech security group. Yet again, I'll always reference this group for all our sessions. So I have this tech security group. From here you can see licenses, right? So if I click on licenses, you can see that I've already assigned the Microsoft 365 E5 license to this group. So what this means is that going forward, if I add members to this group, I add Joseph to the group, I add Sarah to the group, I add Mary to the group, Henrietta, anybody, right? Those people that I add to the group, they would automatically have access to this license that is here, right? Sorry, a moment, please. My son wants me to change the channel for him. um Sorry, one moment.
Sorry, we can't hear anything again. Oh. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Sorry about that. I needed to sort something. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I'm back. Thank you. Okay, so as I was saying, yes, as I was saying, so you can assign licenses to users at a group level, right? So meaning that when you assign licenses to that group, going forward, members of the group would have access to those licenses. So, for example, everybody in the organization can have like the Exchange Online license, for example, right? But then you now create a group that, okay, members of this group, I want them to have access. The members of this group need to be able to use advanced features in Power Platform, right? So you can have like a standalone Power Apps license and then assign it to that group. So going forward, members of the group would now be able to use those advanced Power Platform features or it could be Power BI, or it could be a standalone, Office license and all of that. So, but it's only available to members of that group, right? Not everybody within the organization. So this is where you get that done. It was a question I saw when I actually took the exam, right? How you can manage, or how you can assign other ways, different ways you can assign licenses to users. Then, um, going back, you can also, you can also, sorry, moment, please. Gig, why do you press it? You've taken me off the call.
We'll come and carry you. We'll come and carry you. You are disturbing our instructor.
Oh, I'm still on the call. I
Maybe
thought
we'll
you had
come and
taken me
carry
off the
you.
call.
We'll come and carry you.
Sorry about that.
We'll come and carry you. You are disturbing our instructor.
Okay, so okay, I'm still here. Okay, so yes, um going forward, sorry about that, please. So yes, you can view users, you can look at groups, and then other things that you could also set up from here too. I think last week we spoke about, company branding, we spoke about password reset and so on and so forth. You can do all of that from here. And then when you look at also licenses, so if you come over to licenses, you will see that, okay, no group assignment errors found. Okay, because I wanted to say, but we have a group assignment. Sorry, a moment, please. Manage license. But we do have a group assignment.
Sorry, what does that mean? No group assignments error.
Yeah, as in it's trying to say that it didn't identify any issues based on group assignments for licenses. But then what I'm even expecting to see, I was expecting to see, because we have a group created, the tech security group, and then we assigned licenses using that group. So I'm expecting to see that tech security group in here, that I actually have licenses assigned to users using the tech security group. But then I'm not saying that's in here. Mm, hold on. Okay, I guess it's not the way I expected it to be. Coming back to licenses. And then I think another thing too is that it's not showing me all the, like, the full functionality, the full settings and what have you, because this is a trial environment. It's not an actual live environment. If it's a live environment, you get to see everything, right? You get to see the number of users that have licenses assigned. You get to see the groups that have
Okay.
licenses
Okay.
assigned. Exactly. But ordinarily, if you come here, you can view everything that has to do with your licenses. um if I come to all products, of course I can see all the licenses within my organization and so on and so forth. So you can do all of that from here. So going back, so I want to, please. Okay, so let's look at roles, right? So there are various roles within Microsoft 365, and you can also manage them from the Azure Active Azure Active Directory, right? So from here, like there are lots of roles. So different roles from application administrator, user administrator, billing administrator, cloud app security administrator, and so on and so forth. And all of them have their different levels of should I say control or access. Exactly, let me say access. So for example, a billing administrator can perform common billing related tasks like updating payment information, just like it says here. So for instance, the head of like the chief finance officer within your organization, they always reach out to you. Oh, okay, can you please share our payment information with us? Can you please share our current billing, Microsoft 365 billing information for this month and stuff like that. And it's like a manual task for you as an administrator, as a global administrator. You do not want to always have to do that for them. You want them to be in fact, they also want to be independent, right? But then you don't want to just give them global admin access. To a global administrator can do anything. A global administrator can access all the different areas, can manage every all the different areas within Microsoft 365, right? So you want to give them access for only the billing section. So in that case, you can make that person a billing administrator, right? Just as it says here. And then it would only show the person areas that are relevant to them. So going forward, the CFO now can log into the Microsoft 365 billing section. They can view billing related information and so on and so forth. So here you can assign that this license to the user. You can assign from here. You can assign directly from the main admin portal. You search for the user. Let me show you how that's done. So you can assign directly from here. Just click on add assignment, and then you can assign to the user. You can assign to even to a group, right, from here. So you can assign to a user, you can assign to a group. Maybe, for example, I want to assign this this role to Adele. I can select Adele and then click on add, right? Another way to do that will be directly from the users. So if I come to users, active users, I can search for Adele. Yeah, search for Adele, and then you would see admin roles. Aha. So I scroll down, I get to see roles. So currently it says no administrator access. You can click on manage roles and you can assign that role to the user, right? So these are just different ways that admin access, admin center access, and you get to see various roles. But it's not as extensive as you can see. The list of roles are limited, unlike when you're doing it from the Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory gives you like the full list, right? It gives you the full list of roles that you can assign to a user. So if you need to assign a role to a user and you feel that role is not here, right, then the best way to get it done is from the Azure Active Directory, right? So you look for your role and then you assign to that particular user. A compliance administrator, for example, you can have a member of your compliance team that needs to be able to, create policies, compliance policies, to view the type of compliance policies you have in place, or even to be able to, maybe you as an administrator, you already created audit reports, and then that user needs to be able to view the reports and so on and so forth without you needing to export the report every time and share it with them, right? So you can assign someone the compliance administrator role right from here, and various other roles available: Edge Administrator, Dynamics 365, Global Administrator, Global Reader, Group Administrator, and so on and so forth. So depending on what you need to get done, you can give various role-based access control from here. You can even create a custom role. So if you click on new, create a custom role, you can add the name for the role. So let me say test. You don't need to put a description, baseline permission, start from scratch, clone from a custom role. So do you want to start from scratch or you want to use another role as a template? Of course, we want to start from scratch. So you click on next, And then you can see there are various permissions that are available. So this is like a custom. You want, okay, maybe for example, now I want to, I want the description of what I want this user to be able to do is that I want them to be able to update owners on single directory applications, or to be able to delete single directory applications. I want them to be able to read all application proxy properties. So this will be more useful to, maybe you have a developer within your organization, and developers are usually very specific about what they want to be able to do, right? So you, as the global admin in Microsoft 365, you can get the requirement from the developer. This is what I need access to, this is what I want to do, right? And then when you have all those permissions, or sorry, all those requirements, you can come here, create that custom role, assign the role to the developer, and everybody goes back. Everyone is happy, everyone is has the required access that they need. So coming back here, another thing you can do from the Azure Active Directory, um even custom domain names is also here, so you can get that done from here. So if you come to security, yeah. So if we come to security, right? I don't know if that was too fast. So from Azure Active Directory, we've looked at users, we've looked at group management, we've looked at roles and administrator management. Some of these areas I didn't touch on so much. For example, from here you can see Azure AD Connect. Like I said, my colleague would put you through step by step how you can configure Azure AD Connect, how you can, from here you can download the Azure AD Connect directly into your server, or download it to your PC, move it to your server, and then go about installing it for you to have that directory synchronization, right? So you can do that from here. You can set up your custom domain name from here, and then scrolling down, we're moving to security, right? So if I click on security, yeah. So from here, you can set up things like conditional access. You can set up things like identity protection. You can configure your authentication methods. I think I'll start from authentication methods. Sorry, no, we spoke about authentication methods. So various where you can set up different authentication methods. Like, oh, okay, maybe your users want to be able to receive what's it called? Maybe they're having issues connecting. They want to be able to get a call or get a text and stuff like that. But we'll still look at it anyways. And then multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication is like a second layer of security. So ordinarily, so let me click on it. Let me not just speak about it. Oh, it's opening it up here. So let me click here. Sorry, wrong one. Multi-factor authentication. Yeah. So ordinarily, as a user, right, if I want to sign into my email, for example, only two things are required of me: my email address and my password, right? So when I enter my email address and then I put in my password, it gives me access to, sorry, it gives me access to my um um platform, or to my account, right? And I can do whatever I want to do. I can send out my emails, I can access my apps and all of that. Now I need an extra layer of security, right? So that if a hacker should get access to my password, they don't just get access to my account like that. Especially because I'm an administrator, right? If my account, as an admin, if your account should get hacked, then it's more or less like the hacker already has access automatically to the full environment, because I already have global admin rights. So if the hacker gets access to my account, then they have full access basically. And in Microsoft 365, we preach a lot of zero trust security policies, right? So zero trust, meaning that you can't trust anybody. You can't expect that this person is going to adhere to security measures. You can't expect that. You can't always be 100% sure that somebody's account will not be compromised. So as an administrator, you need to put those security measures in place. So what is multi-factor authentication? It's a second layer of security, that okay, when my user enters their email address, when my user enters their password, it will now request for another means of access, that okay, maybe this user needs to provide a pin that will be sent to their mobile phone, or they need to, many of us by now will be used to authenticator apps. So you can have, like, for your banking app now, your banking app can tell you that, oh, okay, you need to also provide a code that is sent to your phone. You need to provide a code that is on a Microsoft Authenticator app or Google Authenticator app, and so on and so forth. So that's what this multi-factor authentication is all about, right? So you can configure multi-factor authentication from here, right? So there's the account lockout setting, there is the block or unblock users list over here. So you can block users within this environment. They will not receive multi-factor authentication requests, and so on and so forth. You can view your fraud alert, so fraud alert settings from here. You can view it from here. You can configure it from here. Sorry. You can check your notification settings and what have you. Who do you want to be able to get notifications when there is a possible fraud or a threat, right? Who do you want to get such notifications, and so on and so forth. Then normally for configuring multi-factor authentication, I like to do it from here. So from here, I just type in multi-factor authentication. That's from the main admin center, and then click on configure. Yes. So right now, in this test environment of mine, I haven't enabled or enforced multi-factor authentication for any of my users. But if I want to do so, for example, I need to enable multi-factor authentication for Adele's account, right? So this is doing it individually. We'll still look at how we can do it for like a group of users, right? How you can do it for a group of users, that, oh, okay, going forward, if you need to access your email, for example, or if you need to access Microsoft Teams, for example, then you need to provide that extra bit of authentication code before you can access that service. So if I want to enable multi-factor authentication for Adele, for example, I'll select Adele, and then by the right hand side, I get to click on enable or manage user settings. So if I click on manage user settings, for example, right? So it gives me three options. The first is require selected users to provide contact methods again, delete all existing app passwords, restore multi-factor authentication on all remembered devices. These are some settings available. Or I can just click on enable, and then it tells me, oh, okay, I can read a deployment guide if I haven't already done that. And then just gives me one or two MFA setup links and all of that I can take advantage of. Sorry about that. And then I can enable multi-factor authentication from here. So I click on enable, and now it's enabled. So if this user, what this means is that going forward, if this user Adele tries to sign into our account, um, um, going forward, it's going to request for an extra layer of, okay, an extra code, like, oh, okay, actually, because it's her first time, it's going to tell her to set up multi-factor authentication. Is going to ask her for her phone number. Is going to ask her to configure like the multi-factor authentication application if she wants to use that, and so on and so forth, so that she can access her account, just to give it that extra layer of security. So going back to the Azure Active Directory Center, right? If I move back a bit, yes, so we've looked at multi-factor authentication, right? So now let's look at conditional access. So what conditional access does, conditional access policy, it's another security option within Microsoft 365. So it's a way as an administrator, you can say that, you want to, with conditional access, you can, in fact, it already explains it here. Conditional access gives you the ability to enforce access requirements when specific conditions occur. So it's like a, if this happens, then do this, right? So you are setting conditions based on various actions. So if my user is trying to access Microsoft Teams, for example, or if my user all of a sudden is no longer on a norms, they access their Microsoft 365 account from Nigeria, then all of a sudden they are no longer accessing their Microsoft 365 account from Nigeria, but they are now starting to access their Microsoft 365 account from Dubai. Today it's Dubai, tomorrow it's United States, the day after it's Europe. Of course, that's suspicious. Like, what's going on? Why is this? Nobody can travel that fast, right? Why is this user trying to access their Microsoft 365 account from these various locations, right? Automatically, the default setting should be that that account should be temporarily disabled. Admin will be notified that, oh, we've noticed an unusual login activity for this user, and then they'll be notified. The user's account can be disabled while you investigate what's going on. But if you even set up conditional access policy that, oh, if this sort of scenario should happen, if this sort of thing should be experienced, then automatically request the user, you can automatically block the user's access. One, you can automatically request that the user provides another login option, like, oh, okay, don't just provide me with your password, but provide me with a code that has been sent to your account, right? Sorry, that has been sent to your phone, or that has been sent to, sorry, your authenticator app. And if you're able to provide that code, then I'll confirm that, oh yes, this user is actually authentic, and the system will grant you access. So you can configure all of that from here, right? So for example, we have named locations. So this is where you get to set up like your trusted locations. You can set up trusted IP addresses, you can set up your countries and locations from here, right? And then you can also view sign-in logs. So sign-in activity within your environment. I'm actually the only active user in this my test environment, of course. But if this were like a live environment where we had different users, you get to see, um when last did this user sign in, what application did this user access, what was the status, was it successful, was access denied, what's the user's IP address, and so on and so forth, right? So, and the location the user is signing in from, you can view all of that from here. Then you can also look at audit logs. So if there were any unusual issues, for example, you can see from here it says on the 8th of June 2022. So there hasn't been any recent issues per se. So on the 8th of June, this particular service failed, right? So it was trying to access the application management, and then that's trying to add service principal, and then that failed, right? So if this was critical to your environment, you can explore further and find out, oh, okay, why did this fail, and so on and so forth. Then um to view the policies currently available, coming back here to create a new conditional access policy, for example, you can click on new policy, and then um let's do like an app let's just say app policy. Let me say test app policy, right? Test app policy. Then assignment. What sort of or who are the users that you want to assign this to, this policy to? So I can click on this. Now, by the right hand, you can see it moved it to the right hand side. So, what does this policy apply to? It applies to users and groups, or it applies to workload identities. I don't think I've used that second option before, but I'll just stick to users and groups. So now, do you want it to apply to this policy I'm about to create? Do I want it to apply to all users, or I want it to apply to just a group of users? It's always good when you are setting up, maybe if you are still setting up a trial policy, right? It's a test. You're still testing it. Don't apply it to everybody in your environment. If you are in a live environment, do not apply it to everybody. Apply it to only a certain set of users first that are already aware of what you're doing, so that if anything goes wrong, not everybody is locked out, right? You find you can test the behavior, but not everyone is affected, right? So instead of selecting all users, I can select just a certain group of users. And it has include or exclude. So for example, I can say, okay, include only this only this set of users, or exclude members of um users with certain directory roles, or exclude certain users and groups, and so on and so forth. So you can do that as required. So I can select users and groups. So I can select a certain group of users. So I'm going to select my tech security group, right? And then click on select. Sorry, moment, please. Sorry, moment, please. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm back. So yes, so you can set up your conditional access policy to apply to just a certain group of users. We've selected the tech security group, so that's good. We can continue. So the next thing, after assignment, the next step is, what apps do you want it to affect? So if I select cloud apps or actions, yeah, so it shows you by the right hand side as always. So you can select, okay, for example, I want this policy to apply to a certain number of apps. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to say, um if this group, the users in tech security group, if they try to access maybe Microsoft Teams, or if they try to access Outlook, I want them to provide an extra bit of, like, to verify they are really the ones that are trying to log into that account, right? I want them to provide an extra layer of security, an extra requirement before they can access that application. So I'll say select apps, and then it will now give me a list of the apps that are within our environment. So if you have configured custom applications, for example, it will show it here. This is my apps, this is Microsoft Office 365 Exchange Online, that's the Outlook. So if the user is trying to access their Outlook email, then you want it to apply. If the user is trying to access SharePoint Online, you want it to apply. If the user is trying to access Yammer, you want it to apply, and so on and so forth, right? So I can pick say Microsoft Teams, and I hope I didn't add myself to that group. Microsoft Teams and um, Exchange Online, right? So I've selected these two applications and I'll click on select. If you scroll down, you get to see it here. At least one of the apps selected is part of Office 365. We recommend setting the policy on the Office 365 app instead. Yeah. I can follow. They are giving me a suggestion. I can follow their suggestion or I just leave it as it is. I'm fine with my current settings. So I go ahead to click on conditions. Now, these are different conditions that I can like it says here, control access based on signals from conditions like risk, device platform condition, location condition, client apps, or device state. So I can select based on these various factors. So for example, user risk level, configure user risk levels needed for policy to be enforced. So maybe this user has been marked already before as a high risk user, or this user has been marked before as a medium risk user, or has been marked before as a low risk user. So I can select if I want it to kick in, if this user has been marked as a high risk user before. Oh, sorry, I didn't select high. Yes. Sign in risk level is based on all real-time risk detections. So I want this conditional access policy to kick in if the user has a high sign-in risk level, right? If the user has a high, okay, maybe what this means is that, for example, this user has been marked as high risk for sign-in activity, in the sense that today they signed in from Nigeria. Tomorrow their IP address changed again. It looks like they signed in from the UK. The day after, it looks like, or maybe every week, they are always changing locations and what have you. Because of that, their account has already been marked by the system as having a high sign-in risk level, right? So I want this conditional access policy to apply when such happens, or when we are involved with such a user. You can even select based on location. So you want it to include, let me configure, yes. Now I want it to include, is it any location, or is it include all trusted locations, or to include selected locations? So you can set up your locations. I think earlier we looked at how you could set up locations. What? Where you can select locations earlier. So you can set up your locations, and then select those locations from here. Then, um, hmm, let it to know. Then client apps also, you can do that from here, and so on and so forth. And then, now access controls. What do you want to do? What when if the users, now we've set up various options here. We've selected the type of users to be affected. We've selected the type of apps. If users in the test security group are trying to access email or Microsoft Teams, right, and they meet some of these setting conditions, if they are high security risk, high security, or high I think we set up high security and then high sign-in risk users, then what controls do we want to put in place? Are we saying that if this user has a high sign-in risk and they belong to this group, block access? So this wouldn't even ask the user to do anything. It would just, when the user meets those conditions, when the user meets those stuff, it's just going to block access immediately. Or I can say grant access, and when you grant access, require multi-factor authentication, right? Or grant access, require the device to be marked as compliant, or grant access, require hybrid Azure AD joint device. So unless the user meets one of these options, right, they would not be able to access that application. So I can say grant access, require multi-factor authentication, and then I will go ahead to click on So here it says for multiple controls, require all the selected controls or require one. I want it to require even just one. So, and I've selected that that one is going to be multi-factor authentication. So when I select this, I click on select, and then you can now enable policy. So report only. What this means is that the policy is not actually on. If you set it on report only, then what that means is that, oh, when it finds matching cases, it's just going to generate a report which you can review, and then you're like, oh, okay, you reach out to the users. Oh, Daniel, I noticed you tried to access this app from this location. I noticed you tried to access this app, and so on and so forth. Is there any reason why? If you need to check with the user, right? Or you can actually enable the policy, turn it on, or you can leave it off, right? So I believe I'm a member of that group I set the policy to. So, and I do not want to get my access blocked. So I'm just going to leave this off. But for now, I'm going to leave this off. But assuming this was a real environment, you probably want to turn it on or leave it as report only, and then go ahead to create. So now we are, you can see it says yes. So now we've successfully created this test app policy. I can always come here at any point in time and turn it on. Right now it says state is off, right? So I can come here at any point in time and turn it on. So you that's how you set up a conditional access policy. That's how you set up multi-factor authentication and so on and so forth. So there are various security policies that you can enable. You can view your risky users, you can view risk detections, you can view risky signings, and so on and so forth right from here. And all of this we accessed it from Azure Active Directory. So I would advise that we go ahead to, explore this platform, right? If you have any questions, you can drop it in the group. If you have any questions right now, please let me know and we will address it. Otherwise, if questions come up as you are practicing on your own, you can drop it on the group and then we would address it as required, or you can have it addressed next week's class. Today is actually my last. From next week, my colleague Sarah will be the one to take us through the next three classes to come. So, and of course, if you have any questions, you can always relate it with her. She's quite knowledgeable and she will definitely address them as required. So, do we have any questions so far on all that we've touched on?